the U.S., I would talk to him maybe like once a week or something, see what's going on. And then he told me he was being sent to Iraq, but again, he was a cook, so he didn't see any, action or anything like that. And I guess, you can, if they bombed like a whole base or something like that, but that's not really what was going on in Iraq at the time. It was more like if you went out beyond the barracks, from what I understand, that's where you were in danger. But if you were on base, for the most part, you were fine. And I look at that because it brings up other thoughts too. So I think about, okay, well, I had a friend that was in the military, and I don't think he really gave a fuck about, it wasn't about the country or whatever. It was like, I don't have shit else to do. I'm going to go back into the military. So, and even at the time, I told him my thoughts on the military. I don't know that they were as I guess, to the point that they are now, as radical as they are now, but still they were pretty close. And, I think about that the people in Iraq had their country invaded. You think about if people came here, if a country invaded the U.S. and invaded your neighborhood, and I'm the last person to join the military or fight for any government, because that's really what it is. And I wouldn't be fighting for the government, and I wouldn't join the military if the U.S. was invaded. But I would be out there, firing back at people that invaded. If a country invaded Las Vegas, I'd be out there shooting at them. So when I think about what went on in Iraq, they called them insurgents and this and that, and you had all these attacks on the military. But what do you expect when you invade another country? If you look at it from their point of view, their country was invaded. And they're in their neighborhoods, and there's military all around and fucking with them, I'm sure, as well. I don't know exactly what went on. I've seen movies, I've heard things. I wasn't there, so I would need somebody that was actually there, and someone that was out there in a combat unit or out there patrolling, that type. I guess they didn't have combat units after the initial capture of Saddam Hussein, but in a patrol type role where they're out there patrolling the cities and things like that. So I would need somebody that was in that type of role to tell me exactly what went on. And there's another person who's totally anti-military that actually left because of, I forget the reason, but anybody can, conscious resistor or something. Brian Sovereign, who does the Sovereign Tech Show. So I'm not sure of the website. It might be sovereigntech.com, but look that up because it's a pretty good show. And I had Brian actually in studio it's been about a month now. It was during the Bitcoin conference, him and his girlfriend, Stephanie Murphy, who does Let's Talk Bitcoin. So if you want to know about Bitcoin, that's definitely two people to ask and to listen to Stephanie's show. And technology-wise, Brian talks about that on his show, but they both do it from a liberty perspective. So I really enjoyed actually having them here in studio. It was great. And meeting them in person, because I had them on the show before. And they're both activists who live in New Hampshire. I don't think they don't live in Keene. I'm not sure where in New Hampshire they live, but they both had moved to New Hampshire for the Free State Project. And they're really nice people, actually. And they do a lot as well. Especially Stephanie's always busy. She's a professional voiceover actress. And Brian, I know Brian's working independently. He seemed like he didn't want to say exactly what he does. So I didn't want to ask him. I don't think he's doing anything like porn or something embarrassing. Like he's on there like sovereign porn. But I know I think he has like an IT type background, so he may be doing some things with that. He definitely knows a lot about technology, but it was great to have them on. But going back to Thanksgiving is where I kind of started there. I understand Native Americans that are against Thanksgiving. I do. But like I said, I mean, I definitely think there is this political correctness is ridiculous. It's gone way too far. No matter what you do, you're going to offend somebody. So there's a difference. You have the government as opposed to just what people do. So one of the issues that keeps coming up, and there's the war on Christianity. But Muslims get to do whatever they want, but there's a war on Christianity. I think that's kind of bullshit to say that there's not that Muslims aren't attacked just as much, if not a lot more. I see, I guess, what they're saying on the attack on Christianity, even though I don't see a lot of it. But just because you have a thing that happens, and what has seemed to have happened in the U.S., and this all goes back, I think, to the agenda, their ultimate agenda to kind of take over things, and move towards socialism and stuff like that as well. But if you're in the majority, that it's okay to criticize you and you don't have the same rights than if you're in the minority, meaning that if you take, say, the Muslim religion and the Christian religion, that it's okay to criticize Christianity, but it's not okay to criticize the Muslim religion. In the political correctness world, more in the progressive world is what I'm talking about, because there's plenty of people that will criticize Muslims on Fox News and in a lot of places. But the, whatever you want to call them, progressives, I guess, or social democrats, they do that. They do criticize the majority, any majority, but then expect people not to criticize any minority. And I'm not talking about, when you say stuff like that, people think automatically like black and white. No, I'm talking about, in this case, religion. And I've heard them do it. And as somebody who's looking at this objectively, because I don't believe in organized religion anyway, so I don't really give a fuck. I think all religions are pretty fucked up. So I don't really have a preference there or leaning to one religion or the other. And I don't think it's to the point where they make this huge thing like the war on Christianity. Everything's a war. I think that's overblown, but I do think that in general it's okay because, you guys are the majority, so it's okay to criticize you. However, you can't have government sponsoring things like religious whatever, like they'll have the manger scenes or something and put them up, and it will be sponsored by the local government and they'll pay for it, and people will get upset and protest those things or get them taken out. Now, it's not the most fucking important thing. There are a lot of things that are going on that I think are more important, but I don't think that, I do have a problem with that as well, because you can't just say, what about it has to be equal in the sense that if you're going to put that up, then you should allow people to put up whatever their religion is, or what about atheists that are offended, or non-religious people like myself that don't believe in organized religion. Now, I don't really give a fuck personally. It's just like whatever, but I understand the people that do, and I guess it does affect people where you're kind of pushing your religion down somebody's throat or something, or, I don't care about Christmas trees and Santa Claus and shit like that. I think that's fine, because that's the part of Christmas that I look at as it's not really, it takes out the religious part, and I'm fine with that. But if people want that taken down as well, but it seems to have gotten kind of ridiculous where, you can't say Merry Christmas, or people get offended over this or over that. Now, there's a difference again between the government and the private sector. So if you're a store and you choose to say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, and you say Happy Holidays because you don't want to offend people, and it's just people are having they're like talking about this shit. I mean, mostly Fox News, but they're having these are things that people are focusing on. Now, again, when it comes to the government and its taxpayer, extortion money that they're using, I think it's a little different. Still not something that I care enough to get involved in. Not that I don't care, but just that there's too many other things to focus on. But it's the getting into the way too politically correct with everything to not offend somebody. Well, I'm offended by this, and no matter what, you're going to offend somebody. So when it comes to, private stores and the private sector, do what you feel you should do. But, when it comes to the government, it should be equal. Either everybody gets to put up their religious thing, or nobody does. But still, it's something to take on that. Like, really, you're going to get offended because somebody put up a tree? It's like something like that. The manger scene and the relating things to Jesus and putting a Jesus scene or cross or something like that up, I understand that. But you have people getting offended over trees, or because somebody says Merry Christmas or whatever, and I don't know. So I don't know if there's a war on Christmas, like they say, Bill O'Reilly, the war on Christmas, and the extent